Monday the 18th and Tuesday the 26th of November are both candidates for special meetings. PSE&G intends to come before the board with plans to replace all 28 Bridgewater high-voltage towers, all of which are 50 years old, and they'll be replaced with monopoles in the future. I attended the monthly legislative update meeting in which Tom Kane was the guest, speaking about New Jersey transit, home affordability, and taxes. Also speaking that day was Frank Robinson of New Jersey Business and Industry Group, talking about the perils of business ownership in New Jersey. Attended the Somerset County Quarterly Planning Board meeting where they discussed the various major planning issues for the next several months. Attended the Somerset Patriots Next 20 Years program seminar where I represented Bridgewater as a panelist on the part of the ballpark, the part that it plays in the life of Bridgewater. Other panelists include Freeholder Levine, Manager Emeritus of the Patriots Sparky Lyle, a Major Baseball Chief Baseball Officer and former Yankee manager Joe Torre, and members of the Califer family. Attended the Bridgewater Women's Club annual fundraiser where I was honored to give the invocation. And lastly, at our last meeting, Maureen Beck of 557 Rolling Hills came before us because of what she said was an airplane noise issue. I spoke to her earlier today. It's still a concern, but she's trying to get some identification off the planes so we know where they're coming or going. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Pedrosa.
Thank you. Congratulations again to Mayor-elect Matthew Mensch. And also I see Tim Ring in the room and Michael Kirsch. Congratulations to you gentlemen as well for your victories here in Bridgewater. Just so that, I guess a special congratulations to Matt because believe it or not, he actually won the mayor's race with the highest vote count for any mayoral candidate in Bridgewater's history. So congratulations for that. But also a special congratulations to the residents of Bridgewater Township because this year had the highest number of voters turnout for a mayoral race. So it's great to see the public's participation in the election, and that's always welcomed. So that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Cardillo.
Matt, I certainly would echo Howard's comments regarding the election, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And as far as my report goes, I will tell you that I'm looking forward to this coming Monday for Veterans Day to be part of the ceremony in Martinsville.
Wonderful. Councilwoman Rose.
Yes, I'll equal Howard's congratulatory comments. I know that I'm leaving the council and the governing officials of our township in good order. So I just really, about the only thing that I accomplished in the time since we've been together is to stand outside in the pouring rain and give out candy at the Halloween Fest. So.
Okay. For my report, I just wanted to say thank you to my colleagues on the council. We'll certainly have more time over the next 2 months to do it more officially, but it's been an honor to serve on the council for the past 12 years and to serve with all of you. Certainly thank you to the residents of Bridgewater for their trust in me, and certainly a great honor. Thank you to my running mates, Michael Kirsch and Tim Ring, who are here. They'll be great great colleagues for everybody up here when they take over. And I do notice that Mr. Bruckner's in the audience tonight, and I do want to say thank you to him. He ran an enthusiastic campaign, and Jeff has spent 12 years on the board. 12 years on the Board of Ed, which is an enormous amount of work. And anybody who wants to spend the time making our community better, whether it's on the council or it's on the Board of Ed, deserves all of our thanks. So, thank you, Jeff, for your service, and good luck on whatever you choose to do next. That is my report for the evening. Mayor's report.
Thank you, and I would also like to echo the congratulations to Councilman Mensch on his election as the next mayor. The administration stands ready, for the smooth transition of power. Congratulations also to Mr. Kirsch and Mr. Ring on their election as well. That's it.
Okay, we have no presentation this evening. We have no discussion this evening. Meeting open to the public. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there are unusual circumstances. Name and address for the record, please.
Jeffrey Bruckner, 60 Nicole Terrace in Bridgewater. I want to start by congratulating Matt, Michael, and Tim on their victory in the elections earlier this week. I'm glad that the election stayed largely clean, with both sides focused on the issues. There was lots of criticism both ways, as there should be, but relatively little of it was personal in nature. There was one notable exception. Matt, you did the right thing when you publicly called on one of your supporters to take down an offensive, inaccurate, and inflammatory video that was posted by one of your supporters. When that request fell on deaf ears and instead was spread as widely as possible, you had many opportunities to go further, doing the right thing by publicly denouncing the video loudly and widely. I know that if I were in your position, I would have done so. Your silence leads many to believe, rightly or wrongly, that you supported the video. I hope that in the future, our politics will get to the point where candidates for office really do more than just not saying something that's despicable, but actually go out of their way, like I did with my supporters, to make sure that they don't say things that are despicable either. So I'm not being particularly critical, because I know that's not the political norm, but I can tell you as I sit here right now that if that video had been posted about you, I would have been all over Facebook calling on it to be taken down and denouncing it. And I think Bridgewater deserves that. Now it's time to move forward, to look forward. As a resident, I will do what I can do to support the township and this council as its elected leaders. While I don't like what this council has done over the past handful of years, I am an incurable optimist. My hope is that 4 years from now, I will be honestly able to say that you all have done a great job and deserve to be reelected. But I will be watching, and if you fall short of expectations, I won't hesitate to say so. You would expect nothing less. I'll start now. A few meetings ago, 3 of you on the council indicated an intention to reverse this council's long-standing resistance to transparency. I'm disappointed to see that nothing has been accomplished so far, not even the low-hanging fruit. Your agenda still states that public comment is limited to a ridiculously short 2 minutes. You can and should fix that immediately. As soon as I stop talking, before the next speaker steps up to the podium. And if my estimate is right, my 2 minutes are almost up. If you have the nerve to stop me from speaking, I'll sit down, secure in the knowledge that you care more about your bedtime than you do about hearing what I and other residents of Bridgewater have to say. And there's my buzzer.
Coincidental buzzer. That was a coincidence, not actually the
that was
buzzer.
not the buzzer. Well, I am right around 2 minutes. I know that. Next. That was funny. Next. I'm disappointed that you haven't put the documents you will be considering tonight on the internet. There are no technological barriers to doing so, as indicated by the many hundreds, if not thousands, of other documents that are elsewhere on your website. Why this would take more than a day or two to accomplish, after you guys said you wanted to do it, escapes me. Third, your agenda still lists things that aren't happening, like presentation and public hearing. This leads to confusion, which could be cured by putting none on the agenda under those headings. If your promise of transparency is going to be more than lip service, these things need to be fixed immediately before your next meeting. Of course, other aspects of transparency will require more time to implement. So I want to share 2 ideas for you to consider. I have many more, but just these 2 for now. Number 1, you expressed interest in broadcasting your meetings live, and I trust that you will do so in due course. But I'm hoping when you do roll this out, it will be done right. For a small capital outlay, you can install multiple cameras around the room, all feeding into a production board operated by a laptop. Students in BRTV already know how to run this equipment, so you can hire them to switch from camera to a camera as appropriate. This is already being done in townships around the state. The overall cost is extremely low. Students gain real-world media experience, and residents are able to actually meaningfully follow the meeting from home. Other towns are already doing this, and viewership is higher than one might expect. Number 2, keep residents informed by giving detailed presentations. At BOE meetings, we have presentations at almost every meeting, lots of them. For example, during January and February, you should bring in the directors of every township department to give a PowerPoint presentation on their component of the budget. Let the council members and the public ask them questions. Then, when you roll out your municipal budget in late February, there will be a better understanding of what is in it and why, and what is not in it and why. You could give other presentations throughout the year on a wide range of issues, such as how Camp Cromwell might be used, which roads are up for repair, how the township is approaching its debt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You knocked on doors just like I did during the campaign, so you know what residents care about. Keep them informed. If a meeting goes by and there isn't a presentation, ask yourself, was there nothing the township residents cared to hear about? I doubt you'd be able to answer that question. Yes. Have a presentation at every meeting, sometimes multiple presentations. That's all I have for now. Have a good evening and congrats again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other member of the public wishing to talk on any matter? If you can come up.
Name is Matt Musavi, 337 Greenfield Road. I wanted to plead with the council that consider banning the gas leaf blowers. 45 towns in New York, I don't know how many towns in California, a couple of them in Massachusetts, and 2 of them in New Jersey. Princeton has limited them. I don't know exactly what the details are. I brought, say that again?
Huh? You're talking about banning leaf blowers, correct?
Leaf blowers.
Yes.
I live in an association, they blow like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and research this one of you, I don't know how many, 5, 8 of you here, 1 missing, noise is higher than a jet engine when it comes to land, when they bring that up here. And state guidelines or the township guidelines, whatever they are, define certain, level. But that's for one. But when these people come up here, 3, 4 of them at the same time, it's a huge noise. I've not been successful to do anything yet, but I think it's better, you guys consider this. Why don't you guys lead the state, and ban this? There are a bunch of other options. They can do that. There are vacuums, less noisy. There are lawnmowers. They can mulch them on site. But I think because of the greed, these people are using this because it's faster. Even in wintertime, they use that to blow the snow. So, I mean, I don't know if anyone, if you guys live in a, like your planned housing or whatever, I don't have a choice. I have to live out there. So if you want, I stopped by Linda's office yesterday. That's how I got to know that you guys do this kind of things, And if you want, I got the list on this. I can.
If you can, whatever you have, you can give to the clerk, and the clerk at some point can, make copies or. Okay, thank you.
I don't know what's the process that you guys go through these.
Well,
You can order it, but please do so.
we'll take a look.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
I have a battery rechargeable leaf blower, so it's not me.
Yours doesn't have nothing to blow any leaves. Yeah. We'll take a look. We'll take a look. Thank you. Any member of the public have any matters to discuss? Seeing none, motion to close. Oh, come forward. We're going to keep this moving.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kathy Franco. I live at 766 Weemac Road. Let me start by saying congratulations to the election winners. I hope they remember they represent and must be responsive and respectful to all constituents. That being said, my first issue has to do with the 2-minute rule. I have been unable to find this either in ordinance or in resolution. Is there a policy in writing? And then, who adopted this and where can it be found?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The 2-minute rule is, I cannot find it in ordinance, I cannot find it in resolution. Is there a policy written somewhere? Who adopted that policy? And where can I get a copy of that policy?
Okay. This is for you to speak to us. We don't have to respond back. So you can make
Okay.
your questions and we can follow up with you.
Okay. Is a member of the public able to return to the podium to ask or speak about other issues? Tonight, there are 13 ordinances and 14 resolutions. It is very difficult to cover that many issues in 2 minutes. is the time it takes for answers to be provided and deducted from the time limit. I don't know if I will be allowed exceptional circumstances because there are 13 ordinances and 14 resolutions, not all of which I will be addressing tonight. I do want to ask about the availability.
3 ordinances.
What?
You said 13?
I said 3 ordinances and 14 resolutions. I apologize if I misrepresented that. I do want to speak about the availability of information. I reached out today to the town clerk for information in order to be fully prepared for tonight's meeting. I was informed that, quote, "Unfortunately, the township policy to date is that we cannot release ordinances to the public until they are adopted. I was, however, able to receive the 2 draft ordinances, and I recognize that they are considered draft until approved. Staff were extremely courteous and as helpful as they have been allowed or empowered to be. My question is, why is this the policy, and where is that policy written?" Getting to the ordinances, there is an introduction of an ordinance for the elimination of a requirement that the police chief shall reside within 25-mile radius. It says it's the elimination. It does not say that there's an expectation of an expansion. Within a 25-mile radius, this encompasses all of Somerset County. Most of, if not all, Morris, Mercer, Middlesex, Hunterdon, Union, Essex, and touches on portions of Monmouth, Passaic, and Warren, if my math and my circumference is correct. An individual can live as far away as south of Princeton, in Jamesburg, Perth Amboy, Elizabeth, East Orange, Lake Hopatcong, Hackettstown, Asbury, Mount Pleasant, Alamuki, or Marshall's Creek. There are 19 towns within an 8.35-mile radius and 143 towns within a 25-mile radius. So why change the code? Should not our chief of police live within a radius that affords a commute of hopefully less than an hour by car? Should not our chief of police generally be within less than an hour commute to respond to major incidents that require his or her presence? Will there not be any limit set on distance to work in order to assure response to this township's police force needs and to ensure the chief's own safety in long days, long commutes, and possible fatigue? The way it appears, loosely in the presentation, is that this individual could live in New York, could live on Long Island, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Florida, or Hawaii. The ordinance regarding the new historic preservation. Is this a repeat of last year's ordinance 18-10-01-255? Is there change to the language? And if so, what are those changes? Last year, this was voted in with a 3-2 vote by the council. It was vetoed by the mayor. And then when the council attempted to reintroduce and to override the veto, they could not get enough votes to do so. Or is this just a post-election play to the masses? Regarding the collective bargaining agreement, 12E.
Mrs. Franco, how much more do you have? Because
I have
ordinances...
two more. I have two more, and each of the...
Because I just want to make sure you're clear, ordinances have a 2-step process. So the way this works is if they get introduced tonight, there will be specific public hearing on each of the ordinances.
However, from what I was informed, those ordinances will not be made available directly to the public
No, that's not
until
true,
such
Mrs.
time as they are adopted.
No,
We would,
Mrs. Franco, that's not true. What it is they have to get introduced, then the text of them are available to the public, and it's published in the newspaper before there's final action. So each ordinance, and every ordinance we ever pass, has a specific open to the public hearing after it's made introduced and made available to the public. So I just
so
want to make sure
if
you're aware
you,
of that.
so if you are going to introduce them tonight, will they then be made available
Yes.
to the public?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, regarding the 12E, which is a resolution, the collective bargaining agreement, what is the rate increases being authorized over the 3-year contract by year and by total? And 12F, the collective bargaining agreement has to do with the police supervisors, I believe. And 12F, we have exceeded the $20,000 limit previously set for the public defender. So as what I'm reading is, it was set at 20,000, it's now being increased an additional 9,000, which means a 45% increase, is that correct? A 45% increase to what was originally expected in our budget.
I didn't do the math.
I guess, oh, okay, so what I'm seeing is that this is an opportunity to comment, not to get answers, and I would hope that at some point, answers can be provided to the public on questions I have raised in the past, on questions I have raised tonight. Because to date, I have not received many answers to questions I have posed during the past 6 months from this council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And a member of the public want to come forward? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jessie Havens, a name that might be known to some of you because I've been active in Somerset County for many, many years, before some of you were born, in fact. But my thing in Somerset County is history. And I came here to congratulate you on trying again to get some action taken in Bridgewater in this regard. It's not that Bridgewater has ignored history. There's a lot of good work been done in Bridgewater, but officially, it doesn't exist. You don't have a landmarks commission. You don't have any active body addressing it. I think it's past due. I think it's highly appropriate. And I mean, you do great things here in a matter of history. You've got the Van Horn House, you've got the Van Vechten House, active, well-recognized historic sites. You've got this building we're sitting in. A lot of places would have torn it down and started over, but you didn't. Here in Bridgewater, you kept it, did a marvelous job of giving it a new life. You even put a history wall out in the courtyard. But history doesn't appear on the official roll in Bridgewater. I don't know the terms of your ordinance. I assume it's patterned after what other towns in the county have. In any case, it will serve a very valuable purpose. You won't have to rely on volunteers. You'll have somebody of your own to ask when you need to know what you're about to do is appropriate or inappropriate. Your voters certainly expressed their interest in history in last year's referendum. So I hope that the group of you here as council members will recognize the voters of Bridgewater and the rest of Somerset County and take an appropriate action.
Thank you. Okay. Any other member of the public?
Howard Stamato, 10 Northern Drive. And I'm also here to speak about item 11C, which is about history. Yeah, you can look down at the paper. I had to for a long time, too. But there was a time in this town when it was visionary and took a lot of effort to think about preserving open space. And now we still have active discussions about that, but in general, we've preserved a lot of open space, and that's something that serves and will serve the future of this township. And I look at this history effort in all of its aspects as kind of the same thing. It's at the same stage that we were 25 years ago with open space. It's the new thing to be visionary about. And there has been lots of progress because of the dedicated people working on this. So I would encourage you to do what you can here. I think that the folks working on this, who thank you, Councilman Rose, for introducing me to them. And they have a wonderful vision of including our culture, our common culture, and the mosaic that makes it up as part of our history. And so this is something that we'll look forward to as the next big advancement in the quality of life here in Bridgewater. So please do what you can with 11C. Thank you.
Okay, any member of the public? Going once, going twice. Motion to close public session?
Motion to close.
Second.
Second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have no public hearing and final action ordinances. Ordinance for introduction of ordinances. 11A, an ordinance amending Chapter 4 entitled Administrative Organization, Article 14 entitled Department of Public Safety of the Municipal Code of the Township of Bridgewater, Section 483, promotions, A6, so as to eliminate the requirement that the chief of police shall reside within a 25-mile radius of the Bridgewater Township Police Headquarters. This is an ordinance that I had requested that our legal department provide for us. Right now, there is a mandatory requirement that you must live within 25-mile radius. This does not indicate that that where the chief resides cannot be a factor in selecting the chief. It just doesn't set a hard rule. So if somebody was to live 26 miles away, they can still be considered. I'm pretty confident that they live in Florida or Hawaii, they're not going to be a candidate for any police chief openings. So I'd ask that any questions on this?
Matt, I have a question. When we look at 25 miles as the maximum distance, all right, I sort of get the logic of why it was that way, you know, for response and whatever. But
It's not a beer, by the way. It's a Diet Coke I just opened. Sorry.
they put labels on cans, you
I know.
wrap on things.
I know.
But my question is, we're increasing the 25-mile, eliminating the 25-mile radius, but are we setting a maximum?
No.
So my concern on this would be, response time. The chief will probably have a vehicle to commute with. Distance could probably involve tolls, expense and so forth. I don't know if we've put any thought into that.
So
I could see response, but I can't see commute.
So my comment on it is twofold. So one, again, from a practical standpoint, there's nothing in our ordinance that says that issues such as that cannot be considered, where a potential chief candidate lives can't be considered. The guy's got to go through, significant, cross bridges at $15 a pop, and, if we're going to township's going to be responsible for paying that because he's in a township car, well, those are obviously factors that could be considered in deciding, do we want this particular candidate to be the chief or not? Are they willing to move? All those kind of things. Right now, though, from a practical standpoint, we have a requirement that the chief must live within 25 miles. We don't have the same requirement for our captains. The chief and the two captains each take a turn every third week. One of those individuals is the person who's the senior officer in charge. So the idea that the chief has to live within 25 miles to respond, that argument completely fails given the fact that 2/3 of the time, it's a captain who's the on-call officer, and there is no requirement that the captains live within 25 miles of the town. So all I want to do is make sure that when we go to select a chief's candidate, that we are not having an arbitrary mileage residency requirement that is going to potentially eliminate candidates from being considered or narrow down the selection of who we have to choose simply because somebody lives 27 miles away or 30 miles away or not. So that is my hope, is that it can be considered, but there's not a hard line that's going to now limit the township's ability to choose a police chief.
I'll move the introduction of 11A.
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Did we have a second?
Yeah, Philippe seconded.
Billy?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose? Yes. Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Mensch?
Yes. Okay, set the public hearing?
The public hearing will be set on this ordinance for on the 25th day of November 2019 at 7:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. Copies of this ordinance will be available to the public and posted on the bulletin board.
Okay. Introduction of ordinances 11B, an ordinance amending Chapter 206 entitled Vehicles and Traffic to create a new section 206-6.1 entitled Restricted Parking in Electric Vehicle Designated Locations. Mr. Naples.
Yes, thank you. This is strictly as it's written. It is for the I think it's 2 or 4 spots, which are currently under construction right now on the left-hand side of the building, in front of the chief's office, and at the library as well. We're putting 2 other stations.
Okay. Any questions or comments on 11B?
I'll move it.
Okay. We have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Mensch?
Yes.
And again, this ordinance will be, final hearing will be held on the 25th day of November 2019, 7:30 PM here at the council chambers.
Okay. 11C, an ordinance creating a new Chapter 19 in the municipal code of the Township of Bridgewater entitled Historic Preservation for the purpose of creating the Office of Township Historian and a Local History Advisory Committee. Councilman Rose, you have comments on 11C.
Sure. Kathy Franco raised an issue about how this compares to the ordinance that was before us last year and was vetoed by the mayor. And this ordinance is a little different in that it creates the Local History Advisory Committee with the mayor making the appointments with the advising consent of the council. And it also then gives that committee the responsibility for creating the duties and responsibilities of the historian. It also gives that committee the ability to determine a plan of action for the preservation of not just our physical structures, but also of any relics that would become available, potentially become available to the township, which was, I think, one of the problems that we had last year. I had with last year with the ordinance that we had, in that there was no plan. So it's, this ordinance also codifies and makes a part of township government historical preservation. And I think that, for me, is one of the most important things that this ordinance does. It gives it a line item in the budget, not that it would be funded with very much, I wouldn't expect, but it does codify it, makes it part of the organization, and allows volunteers to continue the work that they've been doing. And there's been about 9 or 10 of us that have still been meeting fairly monthly to talk about some of the issues, the Lane Voorhees house, the Hancock house, and some conversations about Cromwell. And it allows that work to continue, because I don't want that work, quite frankly, I'll be very selfish, I don't want that work lost.
Okay. Any questions or comments on?
I have a couple of comments. I was supportive of the one earlier in the year that was vetoed by the mayor, and we failed to overrule it. This one makes some progress, but quite honestly, I want to put some more work into it. There are aspects of it that I think need to be improved, and rather than say, let's pass it now and let's go back and fix it later on. And I'll give you 2 examples. One, it talks about an annual report to the council and the mayor, and from my standpoint, those types of reports are too infrequent. I like either quarterly or monthly reports. Also, the formation of the committee, it talks about 9 people, 3-year points. Anytime you create a new organization such as this, 3 of the seats should be 3 years, 3 should be 2 years, and 3 should be 1 year, and after that, they move on to 3-year terms. But I'd like to put some more time in this, and I would opt that to table it until the next meeting, so that, quite honestly, so I can go back and do some more refinement. Because in this case, I don't think it's got enough thought in there. I like the idea of having the historian. I like the idea of being able to retain the history of Bridgewater in following up on some of the things that Councilman Pedrosa was trying to incorporate in the last one. I think we need to embrace history. I think we need to make sure that we don't lose track of it. And right now, this doesn't do that. So I would make a motion to table this for the next meeting.
I'll second that motion, and I agree with everything Councilman Orgala said. I would also like to add that the function of the historian is really super important, right? That historian has the task of really preserving our history, and I totally agree with the statements that were said by the lady before. I find that this is actually our second bite at the apple. I proposed the original ordinance, and I think that this is really a super important thing to do. I agree with the concept. I'm pretty sure we'll get it done. but I do think it needs some tweaking, and the task of the historian should really be specified in the ordinance so that it's clear what the historian does, instead of leaving it up to the committee to have arbitrary give and take about the powers of the historian. So I would second that motion.
It's a motion to table, roll call vote.
Councilman Cardillo?
We're voting on tabling.
Tabling to the, yeah, table.
Looking at this at our next meeting.
I think that was Howard's motion.
Until
Yes.
11:25.
As long as we're looking at it on November 25th, I'll table it to the 25th.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes to table.
Councilwoman Rose?
No.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Vice President Beck?
Yes. Resolution 12A. Let's see. All right, 12A, award of state contract for one 2020 F-450 extended cab and chassis to winner Ford Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Approved capital purchase, the amount of $71,157 for use by the Department of Public Works. Mr. Naples, anything to add?
No comment on.
Any questions from the council?
Under state contract, and that's a good thing.
Yep. Okay, we have a motion, 12A?
I'll move it.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose? Yes. Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Beck?
Yes. 12B, award of contract, state contract of two 2020 Mason dumps with plows to Route 23 Automall 1301, Route 23 of Butler, New Jersey. Approved capital purchase in the amount of $178,202.50. Anything to add, Mr. Naples?
No.
I need to abstain on this one, so I will not be voting on this. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to do the purchase.
Do we have a second? Let's go, folks. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Uh,
Councilman Pedrosa?
Question of order to Mr. Naples. This was in the budget, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Lynch
Abstain. 12C, authorizing a program to purchase extensions of affordability controls on certain for-sale affordable housing units using funds from the Township of Bridgewater's Affordable Housing Trust Fund pursuant to the Township of Bridgewater's approved Affordable Housing Trust Fund spending plan. Mr. Naples, Mr. Corsi?
Yes, we're asking to extend what has been a very successful program. So the use of this through the Housing Trust Fund enables us to extend the current affordability controls that expire for another 30 years voluntarily with a small contribution to that homeowner. And it also eliminates the need in future years for us to have to build other affordable housing and market rate housing along with it. So it's a very successful program. The money is available in the township's Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and we want to extend beyond what we have in our already approved housing spending plan.
Okay.
One question. Are all of these existing units in our database, or are any of them new?
All existing.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on 12C? A motion?
I'll move 12C.
Okay. Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
However you put it.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Beck?
Yes. Okay, 12D, authorizing execution of a police services agreement with the Bridgewater Raritan Board of Education pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 4865-1, et sec, authorizing the placement of a second school resource officer at the Bridgewater Raritan High School at the total cost of such officer to be paid by the Board of Education. This is a matter that you folks may remember was brought up a couple months ago. And essentially, this is making sure that we authorize a second school resource officer for the district, and that the district is paying the cost of the officer that is there.
Correct.
So under an old agreement, they were potentially paying a salary that was higher than, or a cost higher than, the officer that was actually being put in the school.
That's correct.
So under this scenario, the chief of police still gets to pick the officer. It's completely up to discretion of the chief who goes in there, and the school will pay the cost of that officer. Under the former agreement, essentially, the school district was continuing to pay the cost of, how do you describe it, like a phantom officer. So the first year we did this,
First two two terms we did. So we did two 3-year agreements, and they paid 6
Right.
steps through.
So they basically paid as if we hired somebody on day one, and they paid all the increments of steps that go up there. But that means they could be paying for a 7-step police officer, but the officer who's actually in the school is on the 3rd step. So this is a way to make it fair to the school district that they're paying for what they get, if that makes any sense.
No.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying, but I think it doesn't go to the original argument where I thought the opinion that I had was that the school board was pushing back, saying a senior officer is gonna cost us more, where we get a new officer, it's gonna cost us less, and we wanna pay less.
So that's how I understood it too. I had conversations with the superintendent, and the way it was explained to me was, the first year we did this contract, we going back now, I guess 6 or 7 years, we said that, okay, we're gonna hire somebody. We're gonna hire an officer. We're expanding our table of organization, thank you. So we're expanding the organization, and hey, you're gonna now pay the full cost of that officer for the new, because we had to then hire a new officer.
The new officer.
Right, except the new officer is not necessarily, and may never have been the actual officer that was in the school district. So now what's happened is that new officer that was hired is now a 7th year or 8th year officer. The school district is paying that officer's salary, John Smith's salary, I'm making up the name, but John Smith's not the one in the school district. So they're paying for somebody who is a 7th year police officer, but the officer that may be going in there could be a 3rd year police officer. So what the school district is saying is, we want to pay for what we get. Now, if the chief of police decides that the officer that's going to be the school resource officer is a 24-year veteran sergeant, then the school district's going to pay for the 24-year veteran sergeant. They don't get to choose who goes in the school, but they'll pay for who they get.
I get it, I hear what you're saying, but that certainly doesn't match up cleanly to the discussion before.
Correct. So this...
As far as I'm concerned, we need the officers in the school, and if the school board has agreed to that policy, I see no reason to contest it, to be honest with you.
This is basically a fully embedded cost. Whatever it costs us to provide the officer, they're going to pay it.
Right.
And that's fair.
Right, and under the old system, they could be being overcharged. The
And we
township could be
probably won't have
overcharging.
any sergeants in there, but seriously.
Right. Just make sure it's fair that they pay for what they get, as opposed to us potentially overcharging them for the officers. But they still don't retain control over who goes in there. The chief gets to make decisions over which officers get to be the SROs.
Well, I think, Matt, in any type of agreement, that the foundation of it is you pay for the person who's there. But in prior arguments,
Yes.
thought, they wanted a lower cost officer.
Correct.
So to
Right.
speak.
I think it was being lost in translation between our conversation, our discussion, and what the issues are.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Just one comment on this document that we have in front of us. The school asked for a 1-year agreement. This document that I'm reading tonight still says the 3-year agreement. I know that we were sent a change that reflected the 1 year, so we just have to, make the change on this document to say 1 year.
And 1 year would take us through this school year.
Correct.
And I believe that we'll probably have more discussions with the Board of Ed in the future about officers in the school district and the use of the Special 3 officers and the best way of allocating police resources, which I think is why they want to do a 1 year, so they can look at what their needs are going forward. Okay, we have a motion on 12D?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
I think the resolution is fair, and I also kudos to the Board of Education for taking the time and effort to keep our children safe and to provide security for the kids and the teachers and the staff. So I support this.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Beck?
Yes. Resolution 12E, authorization to execute collective bargaining agreement between Township of Bridgewater and Bridgewater Township Superior Officers Association. Mr. Naples.
Thank you. These embody all the terms that we had discussed previously. It is a 4-year agreement. The SOA has agreed to a 2% increase each year for the next 4 years, which is in the parameters that we have passed previously. They also agreed to continue Chapter 78 contributions for current officers, and they agreed to a set amount for retired officers as well. So this is a very good contract for both sides.
If we could, in the heading, show it's a 4-year contract, just to make sure people reading that will know what we're talking about.
Okay. We can
Change the heading to include that reference that it's a 4-year contract, please.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on 12E? Okay, we have a motion?
I think this is a good contract.
Yeah, it's a great contract.
I'll move 12E.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote, 12E.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Morales?
Yes.
President Lynch?
Yes. 12F, resolution authorizing acceptance of a proposal from Horizon Blue Cross of New Jersey to provide medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance to the Township of Bridgewater for a total annual premium of $7,895,118 for the year 2020. Mr. Naples?
Yes, as we previously discussed, our current provider, QualCare, is exiting the business in New Jersey. They were purchased by Cigna. We went out with the assistance of a health consultant, looked at a number of different plans, including self-insured, health insurance funds, and fully insured plans. Horizon came back with the most effective plan for the township, both cost-wise and provision. In provision, matching the contractual terms that the contract that the health benefits be equal to or better, which they have done, and keeping the costs level with our current costs, which is also very important. We had a full committee review this, including council members, and this is for acceptance this evening.
I just want to comment and say that earlier in the year, the council appointed Scott Redlinger from Round Hill Risk Partners to work with our existing team to really go out and vet this. And if I recall the numbers correctly, this is actually going to be, Mr. Naples, is it like $400,000 cheaper than it was this year? I mean, it's a substantial, there's savings compared to this year.
Yes, there is.
And we were looking at potentially a pretty high cost of switching from QualCare to some of the initial quotes that we received. So the team that reviewed this really did a fantastic job of saving the township significant money and making sure that we actually have health insurance for everybody starting January 1, because it's a hard stop with QualCare. So,
If I may, the union agreements called for the new plan to be equal to or better. There was no opportunity or plan to reduce the benefits to our employees at all. So this is a good plan.
So this takes us out of being self-insured?
That's correct.
yeah, this is a fully insured plan.
This is a fixed, so we know now our fixed cost for the year.
That's
Correct. There's no risk on the back end. We don't have to get stopgap insurance and stop loss insurance. Good. We have a motion on 12F?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second it.
Alan seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Morales?
Yes.
President Lynch?
Yes. Okay, 12G, authorizing an increase to the contract for Scott C. Mitzner, Township Municipal Public Defender. Mr. Naples?
Yes, so there is a hard limit for the public defender set by the council at $20,000. His contract is based on a per session amount. There's also a trust fund, so the money is available in the budget. It's just that we cannot continue to spend and pay for Mr. Mitzner's services without an extension of that amount. This is not a budget increase. Mr. Mitzner is called upon as the public defender as needed, and we pay him as such.
Okay. Any comments on 12G? We have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Morales?
Yes.
President Lynch?
Yes. 12H, resolution authorizing submission of the fiscal year 2020-2021 Bridgewater Route Municipal Alliance request for application with Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders in the amount of $69,875.25. Mr. Naples?
No comment on this.
Okay. I believe this is for the same programs that we've been running previously. We've done this every year. Councilwoman Rose, you have anything to add on this?
Did we do the 3-year plan? Jim, do you know if they did?
I do not.
did that?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay. Any questions? Other questions? Seeing none?
Actually, we're putting $8,000 towards 26,000, so
Hmm?
I would make a motion, we move this.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Beck?
Yes. 12I, resolution to amend the minutes from April 15, 2019 to the hazardous busing resolution number 1904-15106 entitled authorizing an agreement between the Township of Bridgewater and the Bridgewater Raritan Board of Education for 2018-2019 hazardous busing in the amount of $241,429. This is a resolution near and dear to my heart. It was brought to my attention that during the campaign that the 2019 the resolution properly indicates that I abstained, but the minutes do not reflect the audio recording for the meeting or the actual resolution. So this is to correct that so that the record is forever clear that I in fact abstained. I did not vote yes. So Linda has pulled the audio to ensure that it was accurate and the minutes were improperly noted.
I remember that. I'll move it.
Okay. You have a second?
Can we abstain?
You can abstain if you want.
I'll second.
Okay.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Beck?
Yes. 12J, authorizing award of professional engineering surveying inspection services contract for the BWT 6 roadway improvement project, which includes Tulo Road, Washington Valley Road to Mallard Drive, and South Knob entire length to Keller and Kirkpatrick, Inc., 301 Gibraltar Drive, Suite 2A, Morris Plains, and J 07950, in the amount of $39,000 funded through the 2019 capital bond. Mr. Naples?
Matt, if you want to take all the next three together.
We can do that.
They're all road projects, all funded in the capital budget.
Sure. 12K, authorizing award of professional services for engineering, surveying, inspection services contract for Hoffman Road Improvement Project, entire length to Keller and Kirkpatrick, in the amount of $43,800 funded through the 2019 capital bond. And 12L, authorizing award of professional engineering, surveying, inspection services contract for the Twin Oaks Road Improvement Project Phases 1 and 2 to Panoni Associates, Phase 1, Twin Oaks Road, which is Foothill Road to Morningside Drive, Phase 2, Twin Oaks Road, Morningside Drive to Steel Gap Road, and Steel Gap Road, Twin Oaks Road to Newman's Lane, in the amount of $75,000 funded through the 2019 capital bond. Okay, Mr. Naples, anything to?
Nope, recommend all three.
I'd like to make several comments. On 12J, the Keller and Kirkpatrick bid was $39,000. The next bid was $55,000, so we got a good deal on that one. On 12K, Keller and Kirkpatrick was $43,800. The next one was $48,000 and change. The one I like the most is 12L, where Pernoni Associates bid $75,000, and the next one was Van Cleef, and that was $120,000.
All these three resolutions have amounts within the bond limits that were set by the budget, correct?
Yes.
When do we expect the actual work on these roadways to commence?
Spring.
Spring, okay. Okay, do we have any other questions or comments?
I'll move 12J, K, and L.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes.
President Beck?
Yes. Resolution 12M, awarding a contract to Robert Wood Johnson Health Network, Inc. on a competitive contracting basis for the Somerset Ambulance Shared Services Agency, SASA, for daytime weekday ambulance services at zero cost to Bridgewater Township per year for the years 2020, 2021, and 2022. Mr. Naples?
Yes, thank you. Robert Wood Johnson was the only qualified bidder to respond. They have provided this service in the past, and we recommend continuing it in the future.
Okay. Any questions on this?
If I may, this does not reflect necessarily on our rescue or first aid squads. They are very much pressed volunteer-wise. We're obligated to provide ambulance service. Robert Wood Johnson probably will bill back to insurance companies, but in this case, this has a zero cost to Bridgewater Township.
This is a backup service, I presume,
Yeah.
right? If there are no squads aren't available for whatever reason, or they're busy with some other call, it's a backup service, correct?
This has been in place for a few years already. This is just.
Oh, yeah, a lot of years. 15?
Okay. Motion on 12M?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Padilla?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
President Morales?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Resolution 12N, extending Sunday hours of operation for plenary retail distribution licenses, including Wegmans Market, Spirits of the Valley, Krisha Beverage, and Best Buy Wine and Liquors for Sunday, November 24th, Sunday, December 22nd, and Sunday, December 29th. And we do have representatives from Wegmans in the audience to the extent that there are questions about the resolution. Mr. Naples, anything to add?
No, we've done it in years past. It's been very successful. Wegmans has been a great partner with the township, and we support it.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have discussion.
I would offer that the Sunday before Thanksgiving from 9 to 11 would not be a very important time to go out and buy your alcoholic beverages. I think this is a reach. I know it's done every year, and every year I vote no. With all due respect to Wegmans, I love your place to bring, but it's more from a food store that says liquor to a liquor store that sells food. But you're a nice place to work, and you're very popular with your employees, but I will vote no on this.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Councilman Orgales' statements. I have consistently voted no to this ordinance. I really don't think that it's, this is needed, and I agree with everything you said.
Okay. I will vote yes. While I do think it's a slight push, given the fact that there's a couple days between the Sundays. We've had some resolutions where, the holiday falls the next day.
Yeah.
It's a little push, but I understand people have busy schedules, and during the holiday time, I will support it so that people can best manage their time. All right, can we have roll call vote, please?
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
No.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
Vice President Morales?
No.
And President Evans?
Yes. We have closed session tonight?
No.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.